In our presentation for Intro to Sociology, we'll be discussing the relationship of deviance and the church, drawing specific examples from Martin Luther and Jesus, and then we'll be tying it together with more modern examples at the end. The theoretical approach that we'll be taking to this topic is that of structural functionalism, under the thought that deviance promotes social change. To start off our presentation, it's important to lay down some definitions of the terminology and key points that will be discussed later. Starting with deviance itself, it is defined as the recognized violation of cultural norms. It's important to understand deviance as a social viewpoint on cultural norms and the ways that others view said deviant individual. Various sociologists have weighed in on their insight to the topic of deviance, two very noteworthy people being Emil Durkheim and Robert Merton. Emil Durkheim established his ideas on the function of deviance in his social functionalist view. First, he states deviance affirms cultural values and norms. Second, that responding to deviance clarifies moral boundaries. Thirdly, responding to deviance brings people closer. And lastly, deviance encourages social change. Next, we'll move on to Robert Merton's idea of strain theory. This theory revolves around the either rejection or embrace of cultural goals and the rejection or embrace of those cultural means of achieving those goals. He divides the different combinations of rejection and acceptance into 5 categories: conformity, innovation, ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. Conformity is the acceptance of both cultural goals and means, resulting in complying to the social norm completely. Innovation is the acceptance of the goals, but it's a rejection of the normal means to achieve them. Ritualism is a rejection of those cultural goals, but still an acceptance of cultural means and norms. Retreatism is the rejection of both the goals and the means. And the last division in Merton's theory is rebellion, which is just creating new goals and new means of achieving these goals. Another important aspect to analyze is social control, which is essentially the actions of society or the government, or of which you have to keep deviance at bay. An obvious example of this is laws put in place by our government to protect us from deviant behavior of crime. When we apply these thoughts and ideas on deviance to religion, some prominent examples start to show. Martin Luther beginning the Protestant Reformation is a huge example of deviance in the church, starting social change and innovation. Another shining example is Jesus himself. He was radically different and deviant than the culture at the time, once again moving society forward and inspiring change. This is just a quick overview of the rest of the presentation, where deviance in regards to Jesus, Martin Luther, and modern day examples will all be further elaborated on.
Created using Powtoon.